Welcome back to Haunted and Historic Australia for an episode in our Legends of the Land series. We're looking at craters that have been made by asteroids, meteors, comets, and some we just don't know much about, and the legends that go along with them. Australia's a pretty large country. It's not really inhabited so much in the middle, and probably for good reason. A lot of the craters and impact sites that have happened in Australia are around the centre and deserty places of Australia, which is a good thing because if it hit one of our major cities, we could be in a lot of trouble. A scary thought is that the Earth is constantly being hit by things from out of space. But only certain things large enough will make it through the Earth's atmosphere. And when they do, they're a pretty big deal. Now, I'm sure there's a lot we don't see coming through, but of the ones that have been seen or recorded from history, give a pretty chilling account of what's happened in the Earth's past and what could happen in the Earth's future. Many of these impact zones are now conservation sites, and there's some of them that you can access, taking, of course, the right precautions before going, as they are in the desert and some of them are in the middle of absolutely nowhere. We hope you enjoy. Most of us are familiar with Wolf Creek because of the horror movie that came out in 2005 starring John Jarratt as murderous Mick Taylor. But Wolf Creek is actually known for another reason, and maybe a little more interesting than a horror movie. As Graham Seal states in his book, it was already old when one of the Jaru people's two creation serpents slid out of it, but not as old as we first thought. Candimalal, or Wolf Creek Meteorite Crater in the Tanami Desert, is usually said to be the world's second largest hole created by a meteorite. Its diameter varies from almost a kilometre to a bit less than 900 metres, and it is getting on for 200 metres deep. Although largely filled by sediment, there may be larger meteor craters, but we can't see them because they have been buried over eons. When Candimalal was first found by geologists in only 1947, it was thought to be about 300,000 years old. The iron meteor that made it was around 14,200 tons, speeding toward the Earth 40 times faster than a high-velocity bullet, around 15 kilometres a second. When it smashed into the Kimberley sand, it pulverised the quartzite in the ground and was itself vaporized into shards and balls, creating a previously unknown mineral now named Revesite, after one of the geologists who first spotted the crater during an aerial survey. One of the space rocks was retrieved and sent over to Atherton Museum in Queensland for display in 2015. 2 weeks later, the space rock disappeared, stolen by two men who were caught on CCTV. It was another 5 years before police recovered the artefact in Cairns in late 2020 and returned it to the museum.
A meteorite has reappeared 5 years after it was stolen from a museum in far north Queensland. Police found the nearly 12-kilogram space rock and returned it to its owners at the Crystal Caves Museum. It's estimated to be between 4 and 5 billion years old and worth around $16,000.
Who stole the rock, why and what was done with it while it was missing are matters that, so far, remain unexplained. Police hope to be able to tell the story in due course. Today, Wolf Creek Meteorite Crater is a dramatic sight in the barren Kimberley landscape, 2 to 3 hours rough driving from Halls Creek. It rises up out of the plain, its uneven rim slightly out of kilter with the flat surrounding lands, and is the main feature of the Wolf Creek Crater National Park, taking its name from the nearby Wolf Creek. Many Australians only heard about it when the film was released in 2005. The chilling murder mystery at the centre of the movie was given a dramatic boost by visuals of the crater.
Captain's log. So far, no sign of intelligent life forms.
Wow. That's awesome.
Based on real-life events of the murders committed by Ivan Milat and Bradley Murdoch, the film was a fictional rendition reset in the Wolf Creek Crater National Park. The film was a hit, though sometimes criticised for its violence. The mysteriousness of Wolf Creek Meteorite Crater is due to its extraterrestrial origin and dramatic appearance in an exotic and remote location. Its significance in the Jaru tradition, as well as the importance of it being used to research and understand better the impact that space debris has on the planet, as well as the movie drawing in crowds to the location. In their different ways, these are all attempts to explain and understand something rare in human experience. The Jaru people also have another story about the crater. According to Elder Jack Jagari, when the evening star and a crescent moon came near to each other, the star grew hot and fell to earth, causing a great explosion of flame and noise. The whole country shook, frightening the people who avoided the place for a long time. But eventually they dared approach the site again and saw that the crater was the place where the flaming star reshaped the earth. Two other notable legends for the crater from the first people was that a being had come down from space and was digging in the desert for yams and left a massive crater in its wake, and they referred to him as the Old Fellow, possibly older than the first people. The other legend was a pair of ancestral snakes burrowing under the earth, forming rivers and emerging from the ground to form rock holes and clay pans. The head from one of the serpents formed a depression on the southeast rim of the crater as it emerged from the ground. Kandamalal is now thought to be only 120,000 years old, one of 7 such relatively recent impact sites in Australia. Scientists calculate that one of these space rocks hits us around every 17,000 years. Fortunately, they only seem to land in the most arid and desolate parts of the country so far. Another impact site that's accessible is the Henbury Meteorites Conservation Reserve, which is home to several craters, 12 in fact. The largest crater is 180 metres wide and 15 metres deep. It is stated that the Henbury meteorite hit the Earth around 4,700 years ago with an impact speed of over 40,000 kilometres per hour, disintegrating on impact and throwing up shards of itself, forming the remaining craters. They are known as explosive craters, meaning that they were excavated by meteorites which penetrated a short distance into the Earth before breaking up with an enormous release of energy. Sheets of near-surface rock were folded back as a result of the violent release of compressive forces to form the rims of the craters, and fragments of the meteorites consisting of the nickel-iron alloy were deposited over the wide area. The weight is estimated to have been several tons, being made up of 90% iron and 8% nickel. Over 500 kilograms of metal has been found over the sites, the largest piece being 100 kilograms. Several tons of these fragments have been recovered, many torn and twisted looking like shrapnel. One piece weighing 44 kilograms can be viewed in the Spencer and Gillen Museum in Alice Springs. It is expected that there's not a lot left to be collected from the site, but you could try your luck. It is recommended that it is viewed in early morning or late afternoon, where a shadow is cast over the crater and would best show the depths, clearly defining the crater walls. It was located in 1899 when the station manager at Henbury noticed them and informed F.J. Gillen, who states it was one of the most curious spots he'd ever seen in the country. Parker described the craters to Gillen but did not know what had caused them or in fact what the craters were. Park went on to say, "To look at it, I cannot but think it has been done by human agency, but when or why, goodness knows." In 1917, a young prospector by the name of James Mitchell came across a blacksmith in Todmorden who had a particular piece of metal that he believed contained nickel. When he learned that the object had been taken from a blowhole at the Henbury cattle station, he wanted to go to that station right away and find out what it was all about. In 1921, he went to this site with an Aboriginal guide. The guide would not go near the crater, saying that this was where a fire devil had come out of the sky and killed everything. And when Mitchell returned at a later time, another guide also would not go near the site, stating that the first people of the area would not camp within 2 miles of the crater site or collect water from that area. For if they did, it was said that the fire devil would fill them with iron. The guide also stated that stories of the ancestors seeing this occur was passed down and to warn their people not to go too close to the area. The first people had a word or sentence about the crater that had been passed down through the generations, and it was Chindu China Waru Chingi Yabu. Apologies if I've not pronounced that correctly, which was roughly translated to Sun Walk Fire Devil Rock, and also Chinka Waru being fire devil and Yabo being rock hole. Prospector James Mitchell must have been back a few times because in 1931 he finds a piece of meteorite fragment which he sends to the Adelaide University. In 1931, public interest in South Australia was stimulated by the fall of the Karoonda meteorite on November 25, 1930. This aroused meteorite enthusiasts all over the world. And a young geologist named Arthur Olde conducts the first scientific investigation of the site, which then reveals that it was actually a meteorite that struck the Earth. Sadly, James Mitchell dies in 1935. Now, despite the warnings that the first people gave Mitchell, he continued to go into the site, and taking a piece of the meteorite and sending it away may have resulted in his untimely death. But there's no fact, of course, to back that up. Dwayne Hamaker, the Associate Professor of Cultural Astronomy in the School of Physics at the University of Melbourne, says knowing the legends of the first people could point to other meteorite sites that are unknown to Western science, many of which have been filled with sediment and aren't that easily identifiable. From one legend to another, we come to another crater site, Tunarala or Gosss Bluff. Scientists believe that around 142.5 million years ago, a comet 600 metres wide crashed into the Earth, creating a 20-metre wide crater. It is considerably less now due to erosion. Discovered by Ernest Giles in 1872, the area was named Gosses Ranges and the crater Gosss Bluff after Australian explorer William Goss's brother Henry Gosss, who was also a member of William's expedition. The legend of the first people believed that Tunarala was formed in the creation of time. A group of women were dancing in the Milky Way. One of them had a baby, but grew tired of holding the baby while she danced. So she placed the baby in a tarna, or wooden basket, and continued dancing, the baby at the side of the dancing area. But the basket toppled over, and the baby fell out, plunging to earth. crashing so hard into the earth that the baby is embedded into the earth and formed the rocky walls and ridges. It is believed that the mother and father of the baby were so upset they continued to search for their baby. They continued to search for their baby morning and night, and they believe that the mother is the morning star and that the father is the evening star, and they come about still searching for the baby lost. As with many oral traditions, some of the story can be a little grey area. Part of the legend that some of the community believe is that the Tana, which is what the baby fell in, was actually embedded in the earth on top of the baby, and that's why it's sealed up. Others claim that the constellation Corona Australis is actually in the shape of the Tana, being the curved area of the constellation. It is also said that they told the children not to look directly at the morning star or the evening star because it'd make them sick, being that the parents were still out searching for their baby. According to Arente traditions, Tenerala was a special place where many bush foods were created by rubbing special rocks made by the falling star, the Milky Way baby. On the baby's body were many sacred stories about other matters of importance which were held inside these rocks. Men were responsible for some rocks and women for others. Each rock represented a particular bush food. Men or women would rub the rocks together and sing so that there would be a good supply of the food that rock represented. They do ask that people that visit do not take the rocks, as if they take some of the meteorite rocks, that means that there's going to be less food, or the particular food that was represented by the rocks will no longer grow in the area. So there's another warning about going into the crater and taking things from the crater. Now to our last crater and legend, known as the Liverpool Crater. Named after the nearby Liverpool River, this crater is located in the MacArthur Basin of Arnhem Land in Northern Territory, not as accessible as the earlier mentioned craters. First acknowledged during mapping in the area in the 1960s by geologists, only confirmed though as an impact site in 1970. No meteorite fragments have been located, but this may be they've dated the impact event to have taken place during the Neo-Proterozoic age. This era is dated from 1 billion to 542 million years ago. It's no wonder anything could be possibly around from that time. The crater is 1.6 kilometres wide. Its Aboriginal name is Ying und Ji in the Kunwinjiku language. There are pictographs of a large catfish on the walls of a rock shelter within the crater. Legends of the first people say that the crater is the nest of a large catfish. And fish are very prominent in the art of the first people for this particular area. Like many of the other legends, the first people seem to stay away from the craters. In various areas, the first people state that the sighting of a comet brings about sickness and disease. For meteors, it is said that the meteor is the eyes of a rainbow serpent coming down to the earth. Some first people have a legend that they tell young children to stay away from the crater zones, otherwise some creature will come and eat you. There are many legends to have to do with the craters, and none of them seem really good. So they generally stay away from them. However, in saying that, with the interest in meteor craters that came with the white men, some members of the first people will go into the crater sites and take pieces of meteor and sell them. I guess if you see the Earth as like any other space planet, we too are living amongst space debris. Whatever you think of meteors and comets and craters, the interest in space and meteors won't be going away anytime soon. With the James Webb telescope up there and pictures coming every now and then to show us what it looks like out there, we decided we would put an episode up dedicated to the craters and to some of the legends that go along with them. If you liked this episode, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so you're aware when we're posting up new episodes.